Hey everyone, welcome back to Cooking with Rosie Schwartz. Happy Sunday. Today we are going to be making my homemade pierogies. It was supposed to be an awful rainy day, so I thought what a better day to make pierogies. Can't do anything outside. Well, it's turned out to be a beautiful day. So let's make some pierogies today. I have made my dough earlier, which is flour, salt, baking powder, egg, olive oil. I think that's it. If you want to know, let me know. I can shoot you the recipe. I've got my filling, which is not your normal potato and cheese. I actually have a pound, I've cooked up, fried up, a pound of ground beef. Again, I know we did this last week. A pound of ground beef, a pound of ground pork. I've got half a jalapeno in here that Grant doesn't know about. Some onion, garlic, salt, pepper, some breadcrumbs to kind of soak it up. And that's my secret ingredient, just to kind of hold it all together. It's very tasty, and that's what I put in my pierogies. So, like I said, I've made my dough earlier, and I've got a couple balls. You cut it into a couple balls. I've got some balls over here. Another thing that you need when you're making pierogies is to have a glass of wine handy. It is 5:30 on a Sunday, so you have to have wine to go with your pierogies because it's kind of a piddly job and it'll take you a while. So I've got my KitchenAid mixer that has the noodle attachment, pasta attachment, whatever you want to call it, with it, and that's what I use. You can either use a rolling pin if you don't have it, or if you have a manual pasta maker, you can use that too. All you have to remember, if whatever you're doing, it has to be relatively thin at the end when you go to cut out your dough. I also have with me my fancy dancy cookie cutter. It's actually a mason jar lid that, I don't know which size it is. You have to fiddle around, however big you want them. And I have the pierogi, whatever you want to call this maker. I call it a pierogi maker. That I got at Lee Valley, and you get a package of 3 different sizes. This is the middle one. Otherwise, if you go to the big one, I think it's more like a meat pie or something like that, but I use the middle one. Okay, I've got some flour because we have to make sure that our dough is not going to stick to the machine or to the counter. And I also have water because we need to seal the pierogies so they don't leak, and a brush. So what I'm going to do first, let's roll out our dough. Each time you roll your dough, make sure you flour the dough or it's going to get stuck and bunch up your machine. And don't forget, if you're using the attachment, don't forget to turn it to the next size before you proceed, or you're just going to be spinning your wheels. Your dough's not going to get any thinner. And actually, I tried a couple recipes for pierogies, and this dough is by far the best. It's very forgiving. It's actually better than even making a noodle. So I keep going until I get to level 5. I find that's perfect to make a pierogi. It's not too thin, it's not too thick. You're not getting all the dough. You're getting more filling, and it's a pierogi then. So I use my fancy dancy cookie cutter, and this actually is the perfect size for my little pierogi maker here. We're going to wet the edges, and then I use a teaspoon or a spoon size of the filling for the pierogies. Put it in there nicely. Squish her together. Voila. There's your pierogi. Whoops. I did that. And then I just put them on my drying rack, and I keep going until all my dough is used and all my filling is gone. So I'm gonna make a couple more and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and I've been working on these pierogies. Out of the amount of meat mixture that I told you, the pound of ground pork and the pound of ground beef and all the other stuff, you're probably gonna get about 60, give or take, pierogies. I've got mine drying on cookie racks like this. And I'm gonna make my last one because I've only got this little bit of dough left. So I'll probably just do that by hand. I'm kind of running out of some of the meat, so or I might even freeze it. Freeze as well too, by the way. So I think I forgot to mention earlier, I know I told you about the water in the brush, but what I do is I just wet my dough around the edges just to help it seal. And that way you're not gonna lose your filling when you're cooking your pierogies. So this is my last one. You can do these by hand. You can pinch them by hand too. I like them like this because then they're all the same size and roughly the same quantity of meat in there. So that's how I make my meat-filled pierogies. If anybody wants to know my recipe for the dough or for the meat mixture, send me a message. I hope you've enjoyed this. Happy Sunday. Cheers.